On August 4, 2019, William McNabb tweeted, @JasonIsbell, legit question for rural Americans. How do I kill the 30 to 50 feral hogs that run into my yard within 3 to 5 minutes while my small kids play? This is the Museum of Twitter, the show where we talk about the most important tweets in the history of Twitter.com, and this is the first post-TikTok episode. Now, I do kind of suspect that TikTok will be back within like a week, but this is the first post-TikTok episode, so thanks for watching. It's Subscriber Sunday, where my subscribers, previously on TikTok, but now you can find me on Patreon, patreon.com/Museum of Twitter, suggest and then vote on which tweet I cover. And if you're wondering, how did it take 197 entries in order to do 30 or 50 feral hogs? There's a very simple reason. The reason is, this tweet has already been covered basically better than I ever could. The Reply All podcast back in 2019 did an extensive episode about it. They talked to William McNabb, they talked to experts about feral hogs. Known union buster and host PJ Vogt went down the rabbit hole and figured out a lot of interesting stuff. So to me, asking me to do an episode about the 30 to 50 feral hogs tweet would be a bit like asking a filmmaker now to do a biopic about J. Robert Oppenheimer. Like, yeah, it technically be done, but why would I bother doing something that I know I will do worse than the other time it's already been done? So while I'm going to do this episode, and I will somewhat quote from the Reply All episode, I cannot recommend you listening to it enough. Like, that is actually the answer to if you want to learn about that tweet, you go to that episode. The context of this tweet is that country singer Jason Isbell was basically tweeting about how assault weapons should be banned after the El Paso mass shooting. And William McNabb, who I learned from the Reply All episode is a huge Jason Isbell fan, was basically like, hey, I understand where you're coming from, but what do you do in this situation where feral hogs invade my yard? But of course, that's not what he said. Because let's be clear, if his question was, what is the solution to feral hogs invading people's yards in rural America, it would not have become viral. The reason it became viral is because he had to include amounts. 30 to 50. 3 to 5 minutes. And the thing that makes me very happy is that William McNabb himself understands that this is funny, and he understands why this made it a meme. Listen to him here in his interview with Reply All.
Oh, it's kind of preposterous. 30 to 50. Where does 30 to 50 come from? Why not, why not 20 to 25? And so that's odd. And then the 3 to 5 minutes while my small kids play. And that's even odd in itself. So you've got all these preposterous notions just sitting there, and how do they tie together?
Like I said, it makes me happy that he understands why it's funny, because if he was being indignant about it, this whole thing would be annoying. But the main thing that the Reply All episode discovered, well, it didn't discover, but reported, is that feral hogs are actually a huge problem in the United States. And every so often, a photo of a gigantic feral hog will come on the timeline on Twitter, and people will be like, wow, the feral hogs guy was correct. Seriously, look at these motherfuckers. Now, there has been some pushback from people who know more about guns, saying basically, don't say that the feral hogs guy was right, AR-15s are not actually a good weapon to kill feral hogs with, he's not right, that should be an exception to gun control. I don't know enough about guns to comment on this, and I don't really need to know more about guns. I just want to point out that that is an argument some people make. Maybe the feral hog guy wasn't right. But he was right in saying that feral hogs are a problem, and that they are not something that should be easily mocked, because lots and lots of people deal with them. But of course, that's not all I'm here to talk about. There were so many great jokes made at the time. There's still great jokes being made. Let me just run through some of them. Sorry, not some of them, a lot of them. We've got song parodies like HOG3050, feral hogs have got to go. Take me down to the paradise city where the hogs are feral and there's 3250. And welcome to the jungle, we got fun and games. We've got 30 feral hogs or 50 in that range. I'm not sure why two different people made Guns N' Roses parodies, but they both work. There definitely were jokes that were more at Willie's expense than just kind of making fun of the way he worded it, like, hate when 30 to 50 feral hogs run into my yard as my kids play, forcing me to dual wield AR-15s as I mow them down. Or, exactly, last week my sons Branford and Highland were out drinking Bush Heavy on the back deck. They're 13 and 11, when a pack of 76 feral hogs came running up. I only had a bolt-action rifle, and by the time I took out number 76, Branford was already gone. I miss him dearly. I'm not saying that Willie's question isn't mockable, but I don't really love that second one especially, because it's kind of making it seem like he's a dumb redneck just because he deals with a problem because he lives in a rural area, which is why I really appreciated the silly jokes and references. Multiple people made references to movies, like Scoring Glory, who puts a gif from Princess Mononoke with the caption, live from rural America, or the great Karen Hahn captioned a screenshot from Okja with legit question for rural Americans, ... My friend Abigail, who made this hat, tweeted, God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to protect my small kids from 30 to 50 feral hogs. And Paul F. Tompkins tweeted, well met, traveler. I seem to have a problem with beasts on my land. Slay 30 to 50 feral hogs, and I'll give you a fine reward. Because as he points out, 30 to 50 feral hogs does seem like a thing you need to kill for a quest in a game. I think that the 30 to 50 feral hogs guy is one of the most important and classic main characters in Twitter history. I of course covered the concept of a main character on episode 100 of this show, but it's basically a person that everyone's talking about who's not necessarily famous already. And it's because of something they said on Twitter. And I think it's a good demonstration of how capricious the content of a main character is. Because I'm sure people tweet stuff as dumb or as weirdly worded as this every day, but they just don't happen to get traction. But this guy just so happened to. And so 30 to 50 feral hogs became a meme, even though it was probably just the first thing he thought of when he was trying to make his point. I don't know if there's a lesson to all of this, except to say maybe listen more to people when they talk about problems in their own communities. But even then, I really don't feel like people were being that dismissive of the idea of feral hogs. I think they're more being dismissive of the idea of 30 to 50 of them invading someone's yard. Although, as the Reply All episode shows, that is not exactly the craziest thing in the world. And seriously, if I actually think about what it would be like to be charged at by 30 to 50 feral hogs, I have to say that is really terrifying, and in that moment I would want as big a gun as possible. I'm extremely pro-gun control, basically across the board. But in that situation, I'd be like, yeah, give me 2 AR-15s. Actually, screw that. Give me a minigun on the back of a tank. Follow me for a new tweet every day, and please consider subscribing on my Patreon, patreon.com/museum of Twitter, where you can get the weekly Museum of Not Twitter, where I cover a thing that was big on the internet that did not start on Twitter, and you can join my Discord, where you can suggest and then vote on what I cover on Subscriber Sundays like these.